All right, thank you for doing this interview.
Oh, thank you so much.
Could you please tell me your name and what you're doing?
So my name is William, and I'm one of the head ambassadors for Polkadot blockchain.
Great. What does that entail, being an ambassador for Polkadot?
Well, it's a good question. Generally the ambassador programs are really how do you spread the message of your blockchain out to the world. But Polkadot is in a very interesting situation in which it has recently decided to cancel its old ambassador program and create a new one that is fully on chain. So at this point in time, for the last month or so, we've been implementing a new ambassador program where 21 people have been elected. They're coming in, and we are currently creating ourselves this new ambassador program to go forward. So I can't exactly answer what it is right now because it's really in the brainstorming phase, the initial implementation phase. But it is something that's very new, and we're bringing it forward.
Very cool. And you are the head ambassador.
Right. So there are actually 21 head ambassadors.
Okay.
So we are, building this program.
Very, very nice.
Personally, I am focused on enterprise adoption. So, every head ambassador, when you come in, you have to, have a platform and say, what are the things you're interested in working on? How do you want to bring this forward? And so for me, I come from an enterprise background. I've always worked in enterprise technology, government, B2B. And so I see the natural fit for Polkadot to handle those kinds of use cases. So I said, what I want to do for my term as head ambassador, well, actually there's two things. One is to help tell the story of enterprise adoption for Polkadot and help move that forward, help to bring more businesses, enterprises onto our system. And the second thing is, the second part of my platform is really about promoting Polkadot in the APAC region, because I'm originally from the US, but I live now in Asia, actually in Taiwan. And so I think there's a lot of bridging that we can do from west to east to really, because Polkadot is a global community, but there's a lot of communication that needs to happen and coordination that needs to happen, a lot of understanding that needs to happen. So I feel like I can really bring that and help to bridge the different cultures.
Great. All right, well, you talked a little bit about, you introduced the idea of your enterprise background. Let's dwell on that for a second. Could you kind of tell me a little bit about your experience in enterprise? What brought you up to, what did you do before this?
Oh, definitely. So I spent most of my career in the US. That's where I was born and raised. And so after school, I got into a company building technology for the US government. And so this was building camera systems to help create maps, as Google Maps was just coming out. And so we needed much better ways to, capture real-time data about, the earth and our cities and help to put it into a technology platform that's usable by everybody, right? And that's powered a lot of, today it's a ubiquitous thing, but at some point in time, somebody had to actually gather all of that data and put it in.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So like, for example, on the airplane, right, you have that little...
Yeah,
is it that
you know it. It's like cameras in airplanes, cameras and satellites, different kinds of sensors. And it's actually, many things change all of the time. Weather changes, right? Clouds change. Even we think of maybe our landscape and businesses as static, right? But actually day to day, many things change within cities. So we can gather a lot of intelligence and helpful information from the air and remotely. And then the question is, how do you actually get that into a useful state? So that's one part of my background. I also worked a lot in technology to modernize practices within retail businesses and restaurants. So I also have a credit card processing, payment processing background. So that's how I kind of got into the financial technology world that, maybe a decade or so ago. Just as Square was coming out, revolutionizing the payment landscape. So that's where I got my understanding of how the financial system works. So how the trust model works between businesses and consumers, how you need to secure payments, how you need to settle payments, and that helps me understand the advantages that blockchain can bring to do that in a new way.
Wow. Was it in this part of your career that you became aware of crypto, or was that earlier?
No, actually, I've always been kind of an early adopter. So I would say I bought some Bitcoin and Ethereum, not really knowing what it was, but knowing I should have some. So I didn't really understand the underpinning or really the ideological side of that, but I knew I should have some. So I got some, but I didn't really get into crypto really until maybe 2020, end of 2020. So kind of like right at the end of DeFi summer.
Yeah, I see. And what attracted you, or at what point did you think, oh, wow, this is really going to change the world, or this is going to improve a lot of things? That was in 2020?
Yeah. So at the end of 2020, I like went hard down the rabbit hole. So like
why did you do that?
I was working on some startups. I was here in Asia, and I was thinking about, okay, how do we fund these startups going forward? I had this kind of Bitcoin and Ethereum from before, and then I said, okay, BlockFi is interesting. I can kind of earn this nice interest, and maybe that can fund me going forward. But then I was wondering, all right, how do they actually get this interest? Does it come out of thin air? And so I started investigating more and more, and I went into Ethereum, and I saw all of this DeFi thing and yield farming, and the day that I found that out, just everything else didn't matter anymore. I jumped in, like every day I was in different Discords, in different protocols, putting money in. All of a sudden my money got all sucked into like these different things. And of course I had to harvest, so I would come back and harvest the yield farming, all of these synthetic stable coins, like all of that stuff. And so I really got sucked in, and actually it's not so much the making money part that sort of kind of sucks you in. But what was the most interesting thing was, in the startup world before, you're always trying to figure out how to get users, how to get a network effect, right? And then how to utilize that network effect, get to that critical mass point, right? So that your business or your idea can spread. In crypto, all of a sudden, were these tools in order to incentivize the network effects, right? So that you can directly, pay people for small actions. You can incentivize them directly for the actions you want them to take. And so this was a revolutionary idea, or at least I thought at the time, because there were all these roundabout ways of doing it before, but all of a sudden you have a system where you can just directly do it. And so that kind of actually, so I came in, let's say, at the DeFi layer, not really at the decentralization or the blockchain layer, but that's what sucked me in, and that's what I saw, that's what I connected with. First of all, I would say, to get into the
very
crypto.
Cool. That almost sounds like a nice, as you were talking, it sounds like a nice transition to maybe what you're doing now, right? Like you're...
Definitely.
Right? Like,
so I would say, yield farming is pretty amazing, especially in a bull market. But for me, I'm not really a trader. When you do it enough, it becomes kind of like real farming, right? You get where the name comes from.
Right.
And it's kind of tiring to harvest your things all of the time. So I really got tired of it after a while. I mean, after 9 months, a year, right, of all of this. And so I said, well, I see a lot of promise in this, in Web3 and what it can enable, right? This new way of doing things. But I'm kind of tired of doing that stuff. So let me just jump in and find a project to join. And so that's what I did. So I happened to find my way to this wallet called Talisman Wallet. And, they needed somebody with my skills and my background. And so that's how I joined. Talisman Wallet happens to be one of the leading Polkadot wallets. So that's actually how I got into the Polkadot ecosystem. So it's a little bit by chance, not kind of by desire. That's my journey into Polkadot. I spent 2 years at Talisman, where I helped to build up the wallet. I helped to transition the company from a, fiat real life entity into a decentralized organization based on the blockchain. So I have a lot of, familiarity with the legal side there. And I also started the enterprise side of the company. So not just a wallet for retail users, but how do we help larger enterprises, traditional enterprises? They have a lot of risk management needs when they use the blockchain. They need to use multi-sig for me to do workflow and risk management. So I built up the enterprise side of the company to create a product for enterprises to come in and self-custodially manage their money.
Oh, cool.
But with the same risk management, processes that they have in the Web 2 world.
Wow. Yeah. So from your perspective, I'm curious, when you talk to enterprise companies or kind of institutions, what were their biggest concerns? Was it like risk management? Was it the maturity of the technology? Was it the size, like liquidity? What were their major concerns?
I would say the major thing, now we were at kind of the tip of the spear, right? Because if you think about fully self-custodial risk management, right? That's not something that
It's not going to attract a lot of people
today.
Yeah.
So, but there are many big organizations that have a lot of capital that they do need to manage in that way. So that's who we're going for, like super early adopter. But, the question for a business, right? The business, you have a large pot of funds, you have a big treasury, you need to manage that securely. But what do? That really goes to a multi-sig, right?
Yep.
And for a multi-sig, you have a few signers that need to coordinate. Now, who are the multi-sig signers for a enterprise? They're like the C-levels, they're like the board members. And actually, these people have the decision-making authority, but they don't have a great understanding of blockchain,
Right.
of the cryptography.
Yeah.
So
How to store the keys, how to do all that.
That's the real problem, is that how do you get these decision makers to use a system that's as easy to use as possible so they can have the agency to make the decisions, but not have the technical knowledge and hours of study needed to operate it, without an easy to use system. So that's really the problem that we were solving. And I think that is a really important problem that is what's needed to solve to bring actual capital from the outside into Web3.
Yeah. I've often thought about that, like that management aspect being a difficult thing. Because, I mean, just from a retail perspective, when I go to trade or whatnot, even I have to have my own risk management, which is
Exactly.
not very trivial. And I can only imagine it being much more complicated at a organizational level.
Definitely. Yeah. There's these, you have departments of companies, you have different people that you trust. There's people exit the company, right?
Yeah.
And think about the knowledge that's lost when people exit the company, the controls that need to happen around that. And so, that all stuff is the standard in Web 2, right?
Right.
It's been done for, so much money. I don't know, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars are managed securely in Web 2. There are well-defined processes that people are used to using. Those don't exist in Web 3 today. And that's probably one of the biggest factors of why people don't use Web 3, among other things. But, is that you need controls to work with serious capital.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. After Talisman Wallet, you moved to this position. Is that correct?
Yes.
Directly to
so Talisman. So after Talisman Wallet, so during Talisman, that's how it got me into Polkadot. And actually, I started to learn about the underlying principles of Polkadot. So I started at the DeFi layer, which is really kind of a juicing layer on top of Web 3. But I started to go down into the stack and learn about true decentralization, right? About what it means to make a resilient network, right? Because, I started to meet the people that are more ideologically inclined, the people that really were the early adopters, the people that started this at the beginning. Gavin Wood, for example, is the founder of Polkadot. He was a founder of Ethereum. And when he moved from Ethereum, he said, there's a better way because Ethereum is not flexible enough to meet for blockchain to meet the needs of the real world. That's why he started Polkadot. And so I started to meet the people that were the builders and understand their stories, understand their motivation. And then I really connected with the true benefit of decentralization. So building a true resilient infrastructure that's available to everybody, right? Not just in a good government versus a bad government, right? Or something, so it's really about kind of the freedom of people to live their life, to own resources, to not be interfered with from the outside. And so I thought, hey, Polkadot, is something that's designed along those principles. It has a better idea guiding it, and it's something worthwhile that I want to contribute my time to. I feel like I can bring a perspective of the outside world. I can bring a perspective of retail, of enterprise, and I can really help move this thing that's very tech-focused forward, right? To tell the story in the right way, to find the right resources. And I felt, Polkadot really deserves, people to come in and help it move forward. That's the way that, it can really reach the, get to the reach that it deserves to get, that it needs to get to.
Very cool. So can you talk to me a little bit about why did Polkadot decide to end their old ambassador program and start this new one?
I think there's parts ideological and part practical decisions that were made. So, what happened, let's say last year in Polkadot, up until last year, there's been one main development company in Polkadot that really makes all the decisions. It's the company that Gavin Wood founded and works for. But there was a decision made that, the true power of a network comes from decentralization. It's not about one party that makes all the decisions and controls everything, but we need to spread that among the community. If community people become incentivized to participate, to build it forward, that's actually a resilient organization, not just a resilient blockchain. And so there was a deliberate effort to decentralize decision-making, decentralize important functions of Polkadot, and put those out into the community and spread that so that people all over the world will take up the mantle of doing those things. Some great examples are like marketing, right? Marketing, business development, and that includes the ambassador program, right? All of these used to be centralized functions, and that's good for a while. You need that when you're kind of bootstrapping and growing. But when you get to a certain size, you want to design something that can work for many more people, and you need to spread out the organization of the programs. And so all of these functions were said, hey, we're not going to do them anymore. We're going to give them out to the community. And so, there was a big fund put in place to help fund different groups spring up within the community and take up these important functions. And that's what we've been seeing over the past 9 months to a year. And so that eventually resulted in the ambassador program earlier this year. And they said, hey, also ambassador program, we want to give this to the community because we feel that going bottom up and having people rise up to meet the challenge is going to result in a better overall thing. And so that happened, and probably just it's only been 1 to 2 months ago that these ambassadors, including myself, have been elected. And so, it's really a brand new program.
Who elected you?
Everything in Polkadot is done by the token holders. And the difference between Polkadot and Ethereum or other blockchain ecosystems is the token holders decide everything, including where the chain goes, what the inflation rate is, how to upgrade the chain, and who the ambassadors are. So I was elected directly on chain. I wasn't elected to any company or any other thing. So I put my application on the blockchain via my address. The token holders, if they supported, they voted yes. If they didn't support, they voted no. And so fully on the blockchain, fully on Polkadot, my application was submitted. There was a decision-making period. The token holders voted, and in the end, I was inducted into this, let's say, collective. It's called a collective.
Did you have to did you advertise yourself in any way, or just I don't know? I'm thinking from a political standpoint.
Definitely. In any kind of organization, lots of politics, lots of decision-making.
What was your pitch to the community, I guess?
What was my pitch? Yeah. Okay. So the way that it happens, right, is that we have a very robust governance discussion that happens because so many things are done by the community.
Yeah.
So every week we have a weekly show, right, where we talk about governance, and anybody can pitch something to the token holders. So they come into this show, they present their
it's on YouTube or something?
Yeah, it's streamed on YouTube, streamed on various things, on Google Meet. They pitch their things, and then people vote, and they say yes or no.
Wow.
And, you can write a blog post. There's these forums that are integrated with the governance system. So one thing is you mainly write your pitch sort of on this, on our governance discussion site, right, kind of a forum that's integrated with the blockchain. And so I came in and I said, well, kind of what I told you before, right?
Okay, cool.
It's the enterprise story. Polkadot has amazing technology. And it's always had that, but it's never been really good about telling its story to the outside. So I feel like, in order for Polkadot to tell its story in the right way, it should tell its story from the successes in the ecosystem, right? Instead of talking about technology, which not that only a few people understand, what attracts new enterprises is to know that other enterprises have already adopted. So I said, that is what we need to focus on. We need to bring our case studies forward. We need to talk about Polkadot in an ROI way, in a value proposition way, right? Very different than what a crypto native way is. And so that's one. And the second thing is, how do we include more people? How do we grow Polkadot in APAC?
Very
So
cool.
I went on the governance show and I gave my pitch. I wrote in the forum, answered comments, and I was selected as one of the initial. Now, what's very interesting is that even though I was selected as one of the initial ambassadors, it doesn't mean that I have that position forever. So actually, at any time, token holders can come in and say, oh, we don't think that you're doing a good enough job, or we think somebody else can do this better, right? And so they may elect somebody else. So, it's really up to me to kind of communicate outwards what I'm doing, ensure that I'm always doing the right thing, doing the best thing, keep in contact with stakeholders and token holders. And then part of my job is to know what's going on in the network and help to bring it out to the outside of the network. And then I will serve in this position as long as the token holders will have me. And
Very
so
cool.
I hope to be a good representative that is, but it's a new program. So yeah, we will see, what happens, and hopefully we can build this out to be a very strong new way to bring Polkadot outwards.
Nice. Yeah, I like this pitch that you said. Basically, good tech, but not great at telling its story.
That's the story of Polkadot.
Story of Polkadot, and honestly, if I could even say the story of crypto writ large. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. So I wish you the best of luck with that.
So much.
And I think that seems to me like a winning strategy. Getting the story out in a consumable way, or like a less tech focused way. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, thank you so much, sir. It was nice to meet you, and I look forward to seeing what you and Polkadot are going to do.
Sounds good. Let's check back in
Dude,
6 months.
Yeah, let's see it.